We know that one of the most important parts of the month of Ramadan is to fast during the day. The person who fasts during the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows him with special blessings, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him special rewards. But if any person, due to a valid reason, cannot fast, maybe because of old age, or because he is sick, or maybe he is traveling, so it does not mean that because he is not fasting, he will not be part of the blessings and the barakah of the month of Ramadan. But because he has a valid reason, the blessings of Ramadan will also include those who cannot fast because of sickness or traveling or old age. Now we look at the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives certain deeds more importance over other deeds. And you will find that sometimes some deeds become more valuable because of the location in which the action is done. So for example, Salah. Performing Salah in any masjid in the world has a reward. But performing Salah in Makkah al-Mukarramah or Madinah al-Munawwara or Masjid Al-Aqsa has a greater and a special reward. Why? Because of the location in which you are praying that Salah. So Salah praying anywhere in the world has a special reward, of course. But praying that same Salah al-Jumu'ah, the same Salah al-Dhuhr in Makkah al-Mukarramah or Medina or Masjid Al-Aqsa, the reward becomes greater. What's the reason for it? Because of the location in which the Salah was performed. Similarly, sometimes an action, a deed, becomes more valuable because of the time in which it was done. So fasting. Fasting throughout the year has a special reward. You can fast on Mondays, you can fast on Thursdays, you can fast the white days. So all of this fast has a reward and it's meritorious, it's virtuous. But fasting in the month of Ramadan has a greater and a special reward. Why? Because of the month and the time in which the action and the deed of fasting, the act of fasting was being carried out. So sometimes the action becomes valuable because of the location in which it was done. And sometimes the action becomes valuable because of the time in which it was done. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran Kareem says, فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. Whoever witnesses the month of Ramadan should fast in this blessed month of Ramadan. Whoever witnesses this month of Ramadan, the blessed month of Ramadan, then he should fast in this blessed month of Ramadan. Now many people ask this question, that why do we have to fast? Why has Allah made fasting compulsory? What are the benefits of fasting? Or what might be the reasons that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made us fast? Many people have asked this question. We'll try and answer this question, inshallah ta'ala, to my best ability I will try. First of all, for many of us, fasting, it just has this technical definition. That I have to wake up early in the morning, have suhoor, and I have to have iftar. For many of us, that is the meaning of fasting. That I have to have suhoor and I have to have iftar. But each one sitting here will agree that such a great action with so much reward, which is actually a pillar of Islam, cannot be done for you or cannot be done just for you to stay hungry. There should be many other reasons behind it. It is one of the pillars of Islam. Allah has used the month of Ramadan for the completion of one of the pillars of Islam. So one of the pillars of Islam cannot be only for that reason that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to remain hungry. Of course, there has to be many reasons. So we will try and answer a few reasons why we fast in the month of Ramadan and why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made fasting compulsory upon us. The first reason why we fast in the month of Ramadan is because it is the command of Allah. Because It is the command of Allah Rabbul Izzati wal Jalal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kutiba alaykumus siyam. I have prescribed and made fasting compulsory upon you. So this answer is supposed to satisfy everybody. Why Allah has made, why we fast in the month of Ramadan? Why fasting is compulsory? It is because of the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To give you an example to make you understand, a command becomes valuable and acceptable when that command is coming from somebody who has authority. If a brother just comes in the masjid and says, hey brother, I have a parcel in open, just go pick it up for me. What do you tell him? Go fly kite. Isn't it? Who are you to tell me I'm going to go to open and pick up a parcel for you? I don't know you, I haven't seen you before. Just come and give me a command. You go to open and pick up a parcel for me. So what we will tell him? I'm not your slave, I'm not your servant, I'm not your worker. Who are you to command me to get a parcel for you? But on the other hand, somebody you're working for, and he pays you every week and every month, and you're a driver for him, you do a job for him, and he tells you one morning or 2 o'clock at night, he phones you and tells you tomorrow morning you have to go to Canberra and pick up a parcel. What do you say? No problem, boss. No problem. Done. Tomorrow deal is done. I'm going to eat. Why you done it? Because from whom the command was coming became valuable for you. In the first instance, the command did come, but it did not come from a person who was valuable in your sight and somebody who had authority over you. In the second place, in the second example, the person who gave you a command gave you a more difficult command to go 300 kilometers away. But you accepted the command happily. Why? Because from whom the command was coming. So if you know who Allah is, and you know the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then for me and you to accept the order and the hukam of fasting, we have no doubt in our minds. Because we know who Allah is. Because we know who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. So if we understand who is Allah and the greatness of Allah, then we will understand the importance of following the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's the first reason why we fast. Because it is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I need you to be with me. If you're going to be sitting here and traveling with your mind out everywhere else, you won't understand what I'm saying. And then you'll be confused. I said this, I said that. So rather be vigilant, be aware, listen attentively. So you can be with me and you can understand what I'm saying. So the first reason we fast, it is because it is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second reason why we fast, it is because fasting creates a greater awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When a person is fasting, like Jumu'ah time, somebody put a glass of water here, or you at work and it's very hot, and you want to drink a glass of water, and it's in front of you. Why don't you drink it? Because you're aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, Allah gave me a command, I have to fast, so I'm going to fast. So when a person is fasting, he becomes more conscious of his surroundings. He becomes more aware, I must do this, I mustn't do this, I cannot eat this, I cannot drink this. Why? Because I am fasting. So when a person is fasting, it creates a greater awareness. So what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from me and you is this month of Ramadan is a training ground. That how we are aware of staying away from the halal and staying away from those things which we love the most. As we are training ourselves in the month of Ramadan, Allah is training us that after the month of Ramadan, for the rest of the year, this is the awareness that I want from you also. But this is the month of Ramadan. The maqsad of Ramadan now here is that how you have the great awareness of Allah. Every time you don't eat anything, you try to be careful what you say, what you see, is because you have the awareness of Allah in front of you. So this is the same awareness that Allah wants us to bring in our lives after the month of Ramadan also. The time of Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, the famous story when he was traveling at night, then he came across a home where mother and daughter were discussing. The mother was telling the daughter that, look here, you didn't bring enough money home today. So tomorrow when you go and sell the milk, add some water to it. So at least the amount can increase. And we'll be selling more, we'll be getting more money. So what did the girl say in return? That, oh, mother, we cannot do this. It is unfair. We are cheating the people. And don't you know what the Khalifa has told us? We should not do this. So what did the mother say? The Khalifa is by his house, he's sleeping, don't worry. So what did the daughter reply in return? She said, oh my mother, the Khalifa might be sleeping, but the Lord of the Khalifa is watching us. So this is the awareness that Allah wants from me and you. That whether we in public or we be in private, to be aware of the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's the second reason why we fast. To create this greater awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which will help us bring this awareness also throughout our year, inshallah ta'ala, throughout the year. So that's the second reason why we fast. The third reason why we fast during the month of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Allah said, I have prescribed fasting for you, and it was prescribed for those before you also. It's nothing new. So you should not be saying, fasting something new. No. Allah is really telling you that this thing, action and this fasting was made compulsory for even those who came before you. But then Allah gives us the answer. Why? Allah said, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Now the word taqwa cannot be translated in English. Very difficult. And there are many meanings of taqwa and many definitions of taqwa given by different scholars with different meanings. But one of the meanings we take, that the meaning of taqwa we can take from لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ is self-restraint. To hold back, to control your desires, to control yourself, to have limitations, to have boundaries, to have some restrictions in your life. So one of the meanings in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, one of the meanings we can derive is self-restraint. Our desires are such that if you don't control it, it goes towards evil. Whether you are imam, whether you are mufti, whether you are sheikh, doesn't matter. As human beings, the way Allah has created us, if we don't keep an eye on our desires, it will lead us towards evil. It will go towards evil. It will go towards evil. So we need the self-restraint, self-restriction. And when a person is fasting, he manages to bring these restrictions upon him. When a person is fasting, he manages to put this restriction upon himself, which becomes a means of decreasing his desires. Out of the month of Ramadan, you don't want to pray salah, you just want dunya, dunya, dunya. You want this comfort, you want that comfort, you want to build a house here, you want to build a mansion here. Too many desires. But when the month of Ramadan comes, because you're putting pressure on yourself, you're holding yourself back, you're praying salah, you're restraining yourself, you're pushing yourself, you're holding yourself when it comes to following your desires. You get my point? So when a person is fasting, he's controlling himself. So what is happening? He's pushing himself. He's pushing his desires behind and he's holding himself. So one of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us in the month of Ramadan is we have to restrict ourselves. When you will restrict yourself, you will see there will be a decrease in your desires. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this month of Ramadan, He wants us to put a brake on our desires. How? By staying away from those things which are halal. That's not what I'm saying. Allah is telling you not to eat. To eat and drink is halal enough throughout the year. To drink water is halal, isn't it? Anybody doubting it? But in the month of Ramadan, why do you drink water? So now in the month of Ramadan, you're controlling your desires. Your throat is dry. Your stomach is asking for the water. But you say, I'm not going to drink. I'm going to control myself. I'm going to be strict on myself. So when a person in the month of Ramadan, he puts a brake on his desires. How? By staying away from those things which Allah has made halal. So when he is going to fast in this month of Ramadan and he manages to gain the strength and he manages not to eat which Allah has made halal for him, then of course most definitely it will help him to stay away from haram out of the month of Ramadan. Because in Ramadan he stayed away from halal. So Allah through the means of fasting makes it easy for him to stay away from haram out of the month of Ramadan. So this is the third reason why a person fasts. Why Allah has made fasting compulsory upon us. So I gave you the first reason, I gave you the second reason, and this was the third reason why we fast. And that was to gain taqwa, to restrain ourselves, to control our desires. The fourth reason why we fast is through the means of fasting, we learn submission. We learn to submit to the command of Allah, to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah says you must fast from the time of suhoor till the time of iftar. Submit to the command of Allah. You don't run your logic behind it. I think we fasting from suhoor, which is example 5:35, and iftar is at 7:07. No, no, it's 6:58. So approximately 12 hours. So what I'm going to do today, because I have a very tough job, I'll have suhoor at 2 o'clock. And I'll break my iftar 3 hours earlier. At 4 o'clock I'll break my iftar. Why you can't do it? Because we have submitted to the command of Allah. It's not the way how I want to do it. It's the way how Allah wants me to do it. It's not about the 12 hours of fasting or the 15 hours of fasting. But to learn submission to the command of Allah. Allah told me to fast from suhoor till iftar in this way, I'm going to fast in this way. So from the means of fasting, what we learn? We learn submission to the command and the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam submit, what he said? إِذْ قَالَ رَبُّهُ أَسْلِمْ. What did Ibrahim alayhi salam say? قَالَ أَسْلَمْتُ. He didn't say Allah, I'm submitting. In the future tense, Allah, I have submitted. In the past tense. Then Allah, I'm ready for every command. The way you want me to do it, I will do it. You want me to leave my son and my wife in the barren land, I'm ready to do so. You want me to go to Makkah and come back, I'm ready to do so. Because it is the command of Allah. Allah, you want me to put the knife on the throat of my son who is most beloved to me, I will do it so. I want to ask why and how. Because it's your command, how you tell me to do it, I will do it. So through the means of fasting, what we are learning? To learn to submit to the command of Allah. Let's say Allah says, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ دِينًا مِمَّنْ أَسْلَمَ. Who can be better than that person who submits his whole self to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Okay, Allah, here's my life. You told me I must follow your command, I'm going to submit. I won't change and play with the system of Allah. When I need interest money, I say no, it's halal. When I need this, I say it's halal. When it comes to eating certain food, I say it's halal. But I will submit to the command of Allah. So through the month of Ramadan and fasting, what we learn? Submission to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what will happen? The whole month of 30 days we're submitting to the command of Allah. And after the month of Ramadan, this very same submission will help you to carry out other virtuous deeds. Because we're submitting to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is the fourth reason why we fast and why Allah has made fasting compulsory upon us. The fifth reason why we fast is because fasting helps us to become strong and teaches us to struggle, mujahada, and teaches us to sacrifice, teaches us to strive. Because when you're hungry and it's still 2 o'clock Jumu'ah time, you're thinking, no, after Jumu'ah, I'm going to have a kachi biryani, but no kachi biryani. But you're pushing yourself, isn't it? You're pushing yourself, or Dagi's burger, whatever you want to eat. But you're controlling yourself. Everybody is eating around you on the train station. Everybody is having a water in front of them. What's happening? It's temptation. It's hurting you. It's affecting you. If it was not Ramadan, hey, I would enjoy a good coffee now. Right or wrong? But what's happening now? You're controlling yourself. You're pushing yourself. That mujahada, that struggle. And what does Allah say? وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَمَعَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, as for those who strive and they sacrifice and they work hard and they push themselves, who's in this fasting, you're pushing yourself. And those who push themselves, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He will surely guide them to our paths. To our paths. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we will definitely guide them. We will definitely guide them. So there is no doubt that when we are fasting, we're sacrificing our desires. We're controlling our eyes, we're controlling our hands, we're controlling our stomach. All of this is a sacrifice. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the means of fasting is teaching us that learn to control your stomach, learn to control your tongue, learn to control your eyes. What will happen after the month of Ramadan also, you'll be able to push yourself to come for Salatul Fajr. How are you pushing yourself now not to eat? When the month of Ramadan finishes, then you can become lazy, Fajr I pray at home. You bring that mujahada into practice now. I was pushing myself not to eat, not to do this, not to do that. Now I should push myself to continue doing more virtuous deeds for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So through the means of fasting, what we're going to learn? We're going to get mujahada. We're going to become stronger because you're pushing yourself, because you're struggling, because you're sacrificing. So this is because through the means of fasting. So when we fast also we make the intention that Allah, I'm fasting to build strength in myself, to make myself stronger, to make myself a strong Muslim. Because a weak Muslim and a strong Muslim holds a different position in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A strong believer is more beloved to Allah than a weak believer. So I'm pushing myself, I'm going to struggle. Why? For the sake of pushing myself to do more good deeds in the month of Ramadan and out of the month of Ramadan also, inshallah ta'ala. So that was the first reason why Allah has made fasting compulsory and why we fast. The sixth reason why we fast is because fasting makes us feel and have sympathy for the poor, and it builds compassion for the poor. Through the means of fasting, what we learn, you have a feeling for the poor, and you have mercy and compassion for those who have no means of eating daily. So you have compassion for the poor. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in a hadith has mentioned, وَهُوَ شَهْرُ الْمُوَاسَاتِ. The month of Ramadan is a month of kindness. The month of Ramadan is a month of compassion. See how the brothers fight in the masjid. Stand here, stand here. This is the month of Ramadan. Be soft with one another. Be kind with one another. Every brother you meet, because he's fasting, he wants his fast to be in a certain way. Nobody must disturb me. Nobody must trouble me. Nobody must say this to me. It's a month of compassion. Learn to be patient with people. You're going to have everything the way you want it to happen. So you have to be patient with other people also. It's a month of kindness. You will only give kindness to others when you have sabr in yourself. Otherwise you will be kind with anybody. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is teaching us in the month of Ramadan is a month of kindness. Some people only become angry in the month of Ramadan. Whole year they're very happy. When Ramadan comes, they're angry with everybody. So we become the opposite. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is teaching us that through the month of Ramadan, that fasting is supposed to make you more comfortable. It's supposed to make you more compassionate. It's supposed to make you more merciful, because you're feeling the pain of hunger and you think about those who don't have food. So وَهُوَ شَهْرُ الْمُوَاسَاتِ. وَهُوَ شَهْرُ الْمُوَاسَاتِ. It is a month of kindness, a month of compassion, a month of sympathy. Because we live a comfortable life. Because we have our own homes. We eat 3 square meals a day. Breakfast heavy, lunch heavy, supper heavy, then we have our tea and we have our coffee. And we go for vacations, we go to this country and that country. So sometimes when you live in too much comfort, the pain and the feeling of the poor disappears from your mind and from your heart. Then you feel to yourself, no, they'll work their way out, inshallah, don't worry. Because you don't have that compassion in your heart. Because you're living a comfortable life, you can't see those who are in pain. So when you are fasting in the month of Ramadan, Allah wants you to build sympathy for the poor. How? When you are fasting and you have food in front of you, and you know you cannot eat it till iftar, but the pangs of hunger is hurting you a lot, then you will think to yourself, I'm fasting only for 12 hours. I cannot bear the pain. I cannot take the heat. It's hurting me so much. What about those who didn't have food for the last 2 days? You know, me and you are fasting, and we have food in front of us. And we know, iftar time, I'm going to have biryani, I'm going to have this juice, I'm going to have burgers, I'm going to have chips, you have all of this in your mind because you're buying the products in the afternoon yourself. But still for us it's difficult to fast. But something keeps us going. What keeps us going? Iftar time, inshallah, we'll smash it, don't worry. But what about those people who are fasting the whole day and they don't know what they're going to have for iftar? They have no water and no food. What keeps them going? So now through the means of fasting, Allah wants you to bring this sympathy in you. Allah wants you to bring this compassion in you. You know the famous incident about 3 years ago when the attack happened in Syria. Then one of the youngsters, a small child, I think he was 7 or 8 years old, he phoned on the radio station. And he asked the Sheikh, I haven't had iftar, I didn't have suhoor. Allah accept my fast. What he asked? Sheikh, I didn't have suhoor and I didn't have iftar. Do you think Allah will accept my fast? So now when you are fasting, you feeling the pangs of hunger, think of those people. Feed other people. There's great reward for it in the month of Ramadan. So Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said, feed the poor, have sympathy for the poor, have compassion for the poor. Many brothers complain, we're always donating and always generating to Syria and to this country and that country. You're supposed to have compassion. Allah has given you a comfortable life. Allah didn't ask you for blood. Allah asked you for sweat. What you sweated, some money give in my path. They are giving blood and they're giving their lives. Allah asking for you to do a small sacrifice. That is to spend on those who are in need. That also is difficult for us. We complain more than giving also. This is the month of compassion, this is the month of giving, this is the month that we learn how to have sympathy and empathy for the poor, and those who are sacrificing, those who are having difficulties in their lives. You have to have love for the poor. You have to have love for the poor. Because we live in a comfortable life, sometimes we forget to have love for the poor. Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said, لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ مِفْتَاحٌ وَمِفْتَاحُ الْجَنَّةِ حُبُّ الْمَسَاكِينَ وَالْفُقَرَاءِ. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said, subhanallah, what a beautiful hadith. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said, there is a key for everything. There is a key for everything. Every door, you want to open it, there is a key for it. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, there is a key for everything. And the key to Jannah is to love the poor. Is to love the poor, not to chase them away and to talk bad about them. They're always begging, they're always doing this. But if Allah has given you the ability and the strength and the power to help them, you should help them. So there's the sixth reason why we fast during the month of Ramadan. I'm supposed to speak till 15, but I'm sure nobody has to eat biryani today. We're all fasting, isn't it? So we can take at least another 5-10 minutes, inshallah. Anyway, it's an interesting topic. Everybody enjoying it, inshallah. So the seventh reason why we fast so we can build sabr in ourselves. We can build patience in ourselves. That's one of the reasons Allah makes us fast. Everything in this world will not go according to the way you want it to go. Because you're not Allah, Allah is Himself Allah. You're not in charge, He is in charge. It's not your kingdom and your power, it's His kingdom and His power and His authority. So Allah is teaching us patience. You have a plan, you have an idea, you have savings and you want to do this and do this. Something happens, somebody scams you and everything is gone. So Allah is teaching us through the means of fasting to bring sabr in us. So when you will have sabr in you and things don't go your way, the sabr will come into effect at that time. When things are not going good for you. When things are not going good for you. So in the seventh reason we fast because through the means of fasting it builds our patience and gives us the ability to be patient in the time of our life, the difficult times in our lives. Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith also that the month of Ramadan is a month of sabr. وَهُوَ شَهْرُ الصَّبْرِ. It's a month of patience. You should be patient with yourself. You should be patient with other people. You should learn to accept the weaknesses of other people. You should learn to accommodate the weaknesses of other people and the flaws of other people. Not because you only perfect and everybody else is imperfect. Nobody is perfect. So through the month of Ramadan, we learn to build this patience in us. That we have to learn how to be patient with other people's weaknesses. Because everybody can talk a lot there. And everybody can ask for things to be their way. But then there's no muhabba remaining. The only way you can stay together is by accepting each other and being patient on one another's weaknesses. So through the month of Ramadan, Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is teaching us this month is a month of patience. وَهُوَ شَهْرُ الصَّبْرِ. It is a month of patience. Patience has two meanings here. Number one, steadfastness in avoiding sin even when you are tempted to do so. So in the month of Ramadan, you are patient with yourself. You have a desire to do wrong, but you tell yourself, I'm fasting, I don't want to go wrong. I don't want to spoil my fast. So through the means of fasting, we learn patience of staying away from those things which are haram and those things which tempt you. The second type of patience is to be patient and persistent in doing good deeds even when it is difficult. If I'm reciting 20 rakats Tarawih, it's difficult, be patient. Tahajjud is difficult, be patient. Fajr is difficult, be patient. Push yourself. So I give you 7 reasons. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, so through the month of Ramadan we learn that we have to try and be patient. To build this patience, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the month of Ramadan. That you become strong, you become soft, you become easygoing, and you learn to be hard on yourself and lenient with other people. How will this happen? When you build the sabr inside you. When you build sabr inside you. Ali radiallahu anhu used to say, عرفت الله سبحانه وتعالى بفسخ الأوازي. Ali radiallahu anhu said, I recognize Allah through my failures of my intention. I had this idea, I had this plan, and I intended to do something, but something else happened. Now through the means of fasting, Allah wants us to bring this patience. When things go wrong in your life, how you were patient in the month of Ramadan, food was there, you were patient, you didn't eat it. You didn't drink the water. So how you were patient on food and drink and other things Allah has told you to stay away from, when difficulty will come your way, when things don't go your way, when things go against you, this is the same patience Allah wants you to bring at that moment. There are many other reasons I can mention, but my time is up. So through the month of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to bring patience in our lives. Patience. And build the sabr. So I said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the means of fasting, He wants us to bring 7 things. Number 1. Why we fast? Because it is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Second reason why we fast? Because fasting creates a greater awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third reason why we fast is because fasting gives us and helps us to gain taqwa, to control ourselves, self-restraint. And the fourth reason why we fast, through the means of fasting we learn to submit to the command of Allah. The fifth reason why we fast, fasting helps us to become strong and teaches us how to strive and sacrifice. And the sixth reason, fasting makes us have sympathy for the poor and compassion for the poor. And the seventh reason we fast is to build sabr and patience on ourselves. And to be patient at the times of difficulty. To be patient when things don't go according to our way. So the month of Ramadan is a special month. It is a month, it's a training ground. The month of Ramadan is a training ground. You know, when you go outside, the police and the fire brigade, they don't just come and do their work out of nowhere. But they have a location where they train first. And the training and the expertise of the training will only be seen when the building is on fire, how they put off the fire. In a similar way, the month of Ramadan is a training ground for me and you. How we can stay away from haram and how we control ourselves, we are training now. Allah wants us to bring the training out of the month of Ramadan. Even now you're not fasting, that same awareness of Allah you had, you must have it out of the month of Ramadan. You must have it out of the month of Ramadan. So through the means of fasting, this is the month of training ground for you, so you can look after yourself, myself, all of us, for the whole year. Through fasting, you control yourself for 30 days. Through the means of fasting, you are pushing yourself, you are controlling yourself for 30 days. You are telling your stomach, no food and no water for 30 days. What's happening? In the process of 30 days, your heart becomes in charge. Your body just submits. Because every day you see food, I'm not going to eat. My heart says, no, I'm not going to eat. So because of 30 days of fasting, what's happening? Your heart becomes in charge and your body just submits, just follows. Whatever your heart is going to say is going to eat. That is because of fasting for 30 days and pushing yourself. So now, when you do this, you become more conscious of Allah. You become more aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the ulama have written, the month of Ramadan is a good time for me and you to get rid of our bad habits. Many of us have weaknesses, many of us bad habits. Many of us have a habit of watching movies, watching series, smoking, watching pornography, whether you marry or not. All of these things are haram. Watching wrong things, or having other bad habits, talking to women or hurting people or breaking the hearts of people. The month of Ramadan is a good time for me and you to get rid of those bad habits. Because you see, when you come for a Jumu'ah lecture, you can enjoy it and be fantasized and amazed about it. But then you got 7 days to weaken you. Because Friday Jumu'ah was nice, you went home, you were excited Friday, but Saturday, Sunday came, you already got loose. By the time next Thursday comes, you already finished. You need another reminder. But Allah says, I give you the month of Ramadan, 30 days, no jokes. 30 days, full spirituality. Even shaitan is tied up. So now I've given you 30 days to train in such a way we don't get weak. From the first day I keep you fasting, till the last day I keep you fasting. From the first night I keep you busy in Taraweeh, till the last night I keep you busy in Taraweeh. 30 days, Quran, Salah, Ibadah, just push yourself. So you have nothing to weaken you in the process. So if you have a bad habit, you have certain weaknesses, the month of Ramadan is a good chance for me and you to get rid of those bad habits. Because if you're not going to use the month of Ramadan, I don't know when you're going to change. Myself included. Because if Allah is giving us a golden opportunity to change ourselves, to get rid of our bad habits, if you're not going to use the month of Ramadan to get rid of these bad habits, then do you think out of Ramadan is going to be easy for me to do so? No, it will not be easy. Except if Allah has mercy upon us. So take this opportunity. The decision has to come from your side. People cannot tell you what to do. We can give a lecture, I can speak about it, other imams can speak about it, other brothers can speak about it. But the decision to change has to come from your side. It's not coming to a lecture and saying it's nice or this or that. Many a times you don't benefit from lectures because when somebody is talking, He's talking to us, to us sitting here. But we think of somebody who's not here and say, if that brother was here, it would be very nice. Well, he has this problem. We forget to look at ourselves. So the decision of changing has to come from within ourselves. That I want to better myself as a human being. I also have to die one day. I also have to stand in front of Allah one day. I also want to go to Jannah. Nobody wants to go to Jannah, but nobody wants to prepare for Jannah. So we have to make an effort. When you make an effort, Allah will help you, wallahi. When you make an effort and you try to better yourself and you look for ways to better yourself by changing your friends, getting better company, start using your cell phone correctly, what's going to happen? You're going to better yourself. And when you make an effort to better yourself, wallahi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will assist you and help you. But if you don't want to help yourself, you don't want to change yourself, then shaitan will become your companion. وَمَنْ يَعْشُ عَنْ ذِكْرِ الرَّحْمَنِ نُقَيِّضْ لَهُ شَيْطَانًا فَهُوَ لَهُ قَرِينٌ. That person who turns away from the remembrance of Allah, then he has no more companions. The ulama will not be his companion. The good friends will not be his companions. But who will become his companion? Shaitan himself will become his companion. So there is many things I want to say regarding fasting, but already 15 minutes late. But I make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah give me the ability and tawfiq to better myself, change myself, and all of us inshaAllah ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our fasting during the month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us, protect us, and give us the ability to do things for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Two important announcements.